Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is going to be the big one, the big roundup video for 5 Kickstarters for Townsfolk Tussle, Dire Alliance, Nova Aetas Renaissance, Endless Winter, and Freedom 5, all in one massive update, some more detailed than others depending on just how much has actually changed since the start of the campaign until now. Before we do, I just want to let you know, Sunday 10 a.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time, I will be doing another live stream. In fact, I guess at a certain point I'd like to know what other times work for it, because I know I have a lot of international viewers. 10 a.m. works for me, but I don't know what works for other people, and so at some point we'll mix up the times I do my live streams, but basically live Q&A coming this Sunday. If you haven't joined before, jump on in. I like talking. If you have any questions, anything you want to know, any ideas for top 10 lists or other things to cover, whatever you want, jump on in, be a part of the conversation, and I basically I try to answer everything I can. So, Sunday 10 a.m. I'll see you there. From there, let's start with Townsfolk Tussle, because this is by far the easiest. Despite the size of the campaign, $346,000, 4,912 backers. This thing's going to cross 5,000 backers. It will likely cross $400,000. We'll see where it actually ends up, which is incredible for a first-time creator. I mean, that's good. Those are good numbers by even if you aren't a first-time creator. For sure, if you are a first-time creator. And not a lot has actually changed in this one. I'm not sure if it actually really should have a space in this roundup, but I like the game enough that I'm going to. And this is because I think the game was significantly more successful than they ever anticipated. This is, you can see this both from the early bird, the way that played out, as well as the fact that most of the stretch goals were basically unlocked in the first 2 days, and from there we started to proceed to, extra things that are fun stretch goals, but not nearly as impactful as getting new ruffians, new heroes, new whatever, new townsfolk or whatnot. And so they still have stretch goals being unlocked. They still have, more artwork for various town events, which is one of the things they compromised on. Is they packed this box to the brim, which means you can't actually get your hands on more stuff in this box, because they planned it all out. They have Pepin, Hansy, Wheelbarrow. They have all these absolutely adorable ruffians. They have all the townsfolk themselves. The box is chock full of stuff. So what could they do? They started adding more and more artwork to the town events, because that's something that they can actually do. That's something you rearrange the card itself rather than having to add more stuff to the box. And so they basically knocked out all the stretch goals. Not a ton of new stuff. They have a few more stretch goals planned in terms of more artwork being unveiled, more stuff like that. But we're not getting any more ruffians or more townsfolk. Like I said already, that box is crammed. They unlocked the game trays already. They're still working on some other stuff. They have that Quackalope little card, which I'm still looking forward to. And they do have one thing, which is they're going to be running, doing the BGG at home event on the 18th. They're going to be running basically play sessions and playthroughs all day long. So keep an eye out for BGG's at home event on the 18th, which I believe is basically when this campaign is ending, because this is ending in 8 days. So maybe it's ending the 19th, somewhere around then. But that's basically Townsfolk Tussle. Not a lot changing here in terms of should you back it, should you not. Nothing has changed there either. This is a solid back. This is one that people are going to want to get their hands on. It is not entering typical retail distribution unless you're like a retailer buying it during the Kickstarter. So people are going to want it. It's going to be hard to get it. They're going to have to wait for either the next Kickstarter or buying your copy in the secondhand market. I have no doubt that you will be able to get your money back if you're selling this. That's counting more for the shipping fees in the US market. Unfortunately, I don't know the international market, so you have to kind of take what I'm saying and extrapolate to your own market. I apologize for that. If it was just shipping fees, I'd be able to do it, but the problem is I just don't know what the used game markets are in different countries. Which brings us to Dire Alliance. Dire Alliance, again, not much has changed. I'm going through each of these in terms of how much has changed, how much is being added, and, well, we'll see from there. So Dire Alliance basically this is one that is on a bit of a slump. They got to 235,000 pretty quickly. Since then, they've had a bunch of backers tapering off, not a lot of jumps. They had a bit of a jump when they announced the all-in pledge, but this is still not seeing anywhere near the amount of success that the fantasy series had. This could be through a variety of things. It could be a desire for fantasy over horror. Some people pointed out in my last video when I talked about this, it could just be that Gloomhaven, doing the Frosthaven campaign, they announced they put a link to basically the fantasy series, and so that probably shot a lot of people their way as well. Ultimately, whatever it is, this is not seeing the same level of success, but it is seeing, again, 235,000 is still nothing to sneeze at. Where we are right now is this campaign, and for those who don't know already, this campaign is a combination of a board game and a miniatures line that work together in cohesion. So you can get either or both and use them together. If you want the board game, it's basically going to be a game by the designers of Undaunted and War Chest, and it's going to combine with Sailor Brothers, and it's going to be that same style of deck building, head-to-head, as well as a cooperative style as well. That's going to be the board game Dire Alliance. The miniatures line is going to give you 108 miniatures as of now, including that giant blob that you're seeing over here, this giant guy compared to a regular one, and they are teasing. They have just teased something else that is coming soon, which basically they go through a roundup of the various pledge levels over here, and we'll come back to that in a second. But in addition to the pledge levels themselves, they did tease down below, and there's minis and minis and minis. They teased over here that we'll get to in a second, eventually. He comes. He is as old as time itself. His shadow is large. He is the end, yet he is only the beginning. Do not fear him, lest you squander your one chance at fulfilling existence. I'm sure someone with more knowledge of lore knows what's going on there. I got nothing, so I'm just, intrigued without knowing anything about what's going on here. But that is what they're teasing so far. So it sounds like another big miniature, or maybe big thematically. I don't know. The big update here is in terms of what they've added over here. They've added a few things. So if we look at these stretch goals and the optional buys and whatnot, so scrolling down to over here, we have over here the Desecrated Faction Pack for $15. You can buy an additional faction. As of right now, the base game comes with 2 factions. We have 1 more unlocked with stretch goals. The Desecrated Faction Pack would be the fourth faction you can add to the game, which if you're getting the game, I highly recommend getting that. That kind of variability is going to mix things up. It's possible we'll see another expansion, another faction pack unlocked before the campaign ends, but we don't know for sure. So I definitely recommend getting this one for sure. And this one does work with the miniatures from the Fantasy Series line, or you can buy those Fantasy Series miniatures for $25 by buying the Desecrated Minis pack over here. Alternatively, you can go for the all-in pledge, which I highly recommend. The all-in pledge is basically giving you for $209. That's going to be an additional $100 more than the base pledge of Dire Alliance Horror plus the Horror Series 1. So for an additional $100 more, you can get both the Fantasy Series 1 and the Desecrated Faction Pack. So if you count that Desecrated Faction Pack at a $15 value, that basically is giving you the Fantasy Series 1 at an $85 cost instead of the $125 cost it is in this campaign. Still more than the $65 it was originally for original supporters of the line who brought it to life, but it's a pretty close closing of that gap. So if you're interested, I think $209 for all of this is a fantastic deal. As far as all this stuff, good deal or not, should you back it, should you not, nothing has really changed, but also a little less optimistic. So it's still a good back. 108 miniatures. So this Dire Alliance Horror plus Horror Series 1 is $109 to get a board game with 109 miniatures. That is a standard opening punch for any of these big box campaigns, for any Command campaign, for a Darkest Dungeon, anything like that. So it's going to be in that range, give or take because of stretch goals, but certainly not a bad deal by any means. At the same time, it does lose a bit of the enthusiasm I had based on where this campaign was trending towards when I first put out my should you back it, should you not. So at the time, it looked like it was going to cross 4, maybe even 500,000, possibly more, who knows. And now it seems like we'll be lucky if we cross 300,000, although we still have some time to go. We still have 6 days to go and some things still to be teased. I think 300,000 is probably achievable, but it's certainly it might be hard when you have things that are kind of tapering off with a lack of growth. It is certainly harder to predict how this will play out. So what I would say is it is a solid back even in its current form. If you want to get your hands on the Fantasy miniature line with additional faction pack, I think you should definitely jump at that 209 pledge. It'll still give you a decent value. In terms of where the campaign will finally end up, that kind of depends. Keep an eye on the next 6 days, see what else is added. Speaking for myself, there is a small chance I'm dropping my pledge. I don't know where this is going, and to be clear, I like the game, but I also know that there are probably plans to bring additional things to this line down the road, and the more I look at the game, the more I'm just not personally pulled in by the actual style of the miniatures. So I'm faced with a board game I liked, a board game I really enjoyed, and the knowledge that I like a lot of board games, and I'm constantly having to get rid of a lot of board games, and I don't know if the miniatures themselves are pulling me in on this one. That being said, I am still keeping an eye on the campaign. I will likely stay in at $1 even if I do choose to cancel, just because I want the option to change my mind, because I might change my mind. I mean, FOMO is a real thing, and it's something we all struggle with and we do need to work on. But that being said, that is Dire Alliance, which brings us to Nova Aetas Renaissance. Nova Aetas Renaissance has gone from being a game that you can get for $100 or $119 all the way up to $350 and shipping and who knows what to get everything in this game, which basically they have the original base game, they have the expansion that was released with the base game, the Titan Pledge, that gives you the Hyperion expansion, and then since then, over the course of that campaign, they have released 3 expansions, and now they have some all-in pledges that we will go over. This campaign is ending in a day, so if you want this game, this is now your time to basically now or never check it out, see if this is a game for you. So let's see what they've dropped over here. So to begin with, they've dropped over here, if you look at the Into the Darkness, that's update 28, that is where you're going to see most of the information as to the new pledge levels. They dropped the Catacombs expansion over here, so for $49 you can get the Catacombs expansion. That is the 3rd expansion that they dropped, and this one's going to have the additional benefit of having solo. If you want to have a single shot adventure, this is going to give you the option to do that as well, which for someone like myself, that is actually pretty appealing, considering the fact that I'm getting burnt out of campaign games. I just don't have the time, especially with all the content I'm doing for the channel as well. And so single shot adventures is definitely my jam nowadays. As far as those all-in pledges, so the way they're doing it, and they also released an art book for $25. Those all-in pledges, what they're doing is they're not adding pledge levels in the campaign, they are just telling you what to up your pledge to. This is likely because of the way they are handling the early bird in terms of those pledge levels, so they're telling you just how much extra to add on. The Meditio is not going to be available in any of these all-in pledges, so it's kind of, you either have to pay that extra money to get the Meditio or have backed in at one of the all-in pledges early on. And over here they have the Collector's Bundle, which is for an additional $200. You're getting all these dice set, these cards, the art book, the miniature, and then the 3 big box expansions. Or alternatively, if you just want gameplay stuff, they have the Gamers Bundle for $140, and that's going to be the Collector's Bundle is going to be $36 off the pledge. The Gamers Bundle is going to be $16 off the buying them individually. Over here they have an excellent chart in terms of figuring out what you need to do. And so over here they have the Collectors and Gamers, and then the Collectors plus Meditio and Gamers plus Meditio, as well as which pledge level you are at, one of the Renaissance Titan or Renaissance Early Bird or Titan Early Bird. So this is going to give you a great breakdown of just how much you're paying all together. That's less shipping, so factor that in. That could be, meaning if you're looking at the Titan Early Bird pledge for the Collector's Bundle, that's going to be $349 to get you absolutely everything. Or even the Titan pledge, if you want to get the Meditio, is going to be $361 as high as it goes, and that's before shipping. Shipping will be an additional $40 minimum on that, something that size. So lots and lots of content. Is it worth it? Is it not? Basically, it's going to be the same thing as many of these campaigns, many command campaigns, many any giant miniature campaigns, which is that base pledge is going to give you the highest value. Even the Titan pledge as a fixed core starting pledge is still going to be a solid back. People are going to want to get your hands on it. Going all in is both a pro and a con. The way going all in works in these campaigns is, if you like this game, if you want to hunt down those expansions later, you will likely have to pay a premium on the secondhand market. It's just the way it works. Fewer people get the expansions because they're like, well, $400 for a game as opposed to $150 for a game. I can't justify that. And then some of those people love the game. They want the game. And the amount of people who get the base game and end up wanting the expansions is generally larger than the amount of people who got the expansions who now want to get rid of it. So generally you see more of a creep up from people who liked it and want it, especially with a well-rated property. And this being a iteration and improvement upon an already existing game, I think will drift slightly that direction. So as far as getting those expansions, the way it works is, if you think there's a chance you'll want them down the road, likely get them now. It's a lot of money, but it's going to be cheaper than trying to buy them on the secondhand market later. As far as selling your own pledge, if you find this game is not for you, then the way it generally works there is a Renaissance or a Renaissance pledge or a Titan pledge without all the extras on top of it. You'll likely have an easier time selling it, at least initially. But if you're patient, if you're willing to wait, there are going to be people who want that full expansion bundle and are willing to pay for it. So all things considered, all around, I think these are still good backs all around, but it is a lot of money for a lot of content. At the same time, we have more stuff to show you today, so a lot of money for a lot of content. We ain't seen nothing yet. Although I guess $400 is coming pretty close there, so we'll see. Which brings us to Endless Winter. Endless Winter has a lot of stuff going on here, and this is a game that you already know I love. It's a game that I'm excited about, and it's a game that has consistently been changing and delivering to what backers wanted. This is a game where the publishers, Fantasia Games, have multiple times shifted to adjust expectations. Anything from that little eraser joke where they erased the eraser cap stretch goal to the addition of a giant big box that they never planned on doing. They didn't plan on doing anything big box. No sleeve, no container, no whatever, and since then they have adjusted to basically meet the fact that people want a solution here, and they're willing to adjust and accommodate, which is, I mean, this is the beauty of Kickstarter. The fact that so often things are fixed in place. So often you cannot adjust to what the people want because it's a pre-order to a degree. It's a pre-order with a gap built in for playtesting, for all these other things, for iterations, but it's still a pre-order to a degree. But whenever you see these types of things, whenever you see the big box inclusion, when it was never planned on, it was never part of the picture, that is the beauty of Kickstarter. It's one of those things where it's, it's nice to see that kind of communication loop. Going through the expansions, we have a bunch of things over here. So to begin with, this is that eraser cap thing. I touched upon this already, but basically they put an eraser cap stretch goal, and then some people, myself included, and the comments gave them a little bit of a hard time, but why eraser caps as a stretch goal? It sounds a little weak. And so they erased the eraser caps. And the reason I'm covering this again is because I think I'm funny. And what I mean by that is when I posted my video to Board Game Geek over here, and should you back it or whatnot, Johnny Pack commented, what's up with the beard? Because I had shaved my beard a bit. And so I commented back, I erased it. I'm funny. That's a funny joke, okay? Because it's very contextual because of the eraser cap. I thought it was funny. In any case, moving on from there, they have a bunch of other updates, including looking at the Rivers and Rafts expansion as well as the cave paintings expansion. So going through those, the Rivers and Rafts expansion, you can find this in the update. The update links to the BGG discussion of it, but it's going to introduce a more of a river thing going on, river mechanic, as well as these monuments and the canoes themselves, basically resulting in your player board. That whole little Catan-like settlement over there is going to instead look more like this. You're going to put a bunch of river tiles down, build the settlement around that, and your canoes are going to be flowing up the river. It's going to change the way the game plays, including the monuments. The monuments might have things, so they mentioned the volcano over here. The volcano will have things where it gives you early game points for being there early on, but late game you kind of want to get away from it before it explodes, and so it's going to be a different adjustment to the way you plan your settlement on. It's going to make the game feel a bit more of an actual process of settling as you slowly but surely traverse the lands and whatnot. I'm looking forward to what it adds to the game. It's also going to add a tile. I saw one. I can't find it here somewhere, but there's some more tiles, but different ways some of these mechanics or these pieces work together. Additionally, from there we have, what do we have over here? We have what did we have? Oh, we had a promotion for Feed the Kraken, which they got a bunch of pushback on, but I will say I'm including this here anyway because I myself I've played Feed the Kraken already. I'll be playing it again. I'll be playing it both myself for a review as well as next Sunday, so expect some more content on that. Expect a full review on Feed the Kraken, but I am loving Feed the Kraken as well. So a bit expensive for what you're getting, but I'm a huge fan of the game, and expect a review on that. But I guess my point is, Fantasia Games, I don't know what your crossover deal with Funtails is, but I approve. Both of these two games at once that I am really enjoying. From there we have the time has come for the big announcement. So they added deluxe trays, they added barrel ground cap cards, main board linen finish, and then the big deal over here is they added the big box. So if you wanted that big box, it's over here. Go ahead, check that out. They have a little thing over here for how it fits on a Kallax showing you there. And that big box, I'll be getting it because, well, I want the big box. I mean, sometimes it's a bit tricky because sometimes I find that I'll dump miniatures or condense a whole bunch of boxes into a smaller thing. So I may well regret this, but I think with the nature of this game, I don't think I'd actually would want that full condensing. I think it actually would work for me, but who knows, I might regret that. And the reason I say I might regret that is because the big box replaces the core box. Pay attention, if you buy this big box, and by the way, it is a buying, so it's going to be roughly €7 or $8. They're basically charging roughly cost or however cheap they can get it. They're doing this because people want it, not as an additional profit center or whatnot. But basically, that big box is going to replace your core box, so decide wisely, and choose understanding that this is a successful game, and they do potentially have plans for a second Kickstarter down the road. Nothing firm, but just the idea that they're not viewing this as a closed line. They're viewing this like an Everdell that might have a few Kickstarters down the road over time, slowly but surely. And keep in mind, Everdell doesn't even have a big box yet, and Endless Winter has a big box in their first campaign. So this campaign has done phenomenally well. They are adjusting to what people want, and if you want that big box, well, jump in on it. From there, we have the Cave Paintings expansion. So I'm going to briefly touch upon this. This was an update that people wanted for a while to see how the Cave Paintings expansion looked or how it worked. And this basically is going to give you, well, what it sounds like. It's Cave Paintings expansion. You're going to have an additional spot on the main board where you can earn both filling in individual squares, circles, and triangles, or diamonds, I should say. And then additionally, you'll be able to earn actual line drawing. So what you're going to have is you'll fill in those dots, then you'll connect the dots, and whenever you encircle a space, you will get all the benefits that is within those encircled spaces. So it gives you a whole nother little element to manage, and as they point out, you can also just randomly draw on your woolly mammoth because you want to, and you should because it's your woolly mammoth. But it's also going to give you a tile on the board that earns you more line drawings, as well as a full megalith board that gives you a bunch of line drawings options. So it's going to work together to give you those options, a whole other aspect of the game. I can't tell myself if this is going to be the messiest expansion ever or absolutely adorable and completely in line with this game. Like I've said in the past, I love Endless Winter, and I think it is simultaneously a messy game, but one that works incredibly well. The mess combined to form a game that really, really works, and I could see that Cave Paintings expansion fit in on that. As far as one of the questions that I've actually been asked a lot in terms of the pledge levels is I've been asked a decent amount about the pledge levels in the sense that, do you need that chief pledge? Do you need that playmat? Do you want that all in? So first and foremost, understand that the chieftain pledge, the $120 pledge level, is going to be giving you basically the addition of a playmat and those resin pieces. So the resin pieces I think would be awesome, although you do also have lots of other pieces, you don't need them. And the playmat, I think, is going to depend on you, because that playmat is going to be large, so measure your table space, measure the playmat, see if it's for you, and also understand that I'm not the biggest playmat person to begin with. I tend to get playmats for a handful of games. I prefer the modularity of being able to just put things out the way I want. It kind of depends. It's going to be both a pro and a con. I would say check into it and start by measuring your table, and then ask yourself whether you'd rather configure things the way it works for you, or whether you just want to playmat because it'll be easier and faster. That's going to be a personal determination, but I think you're probably not hurting yourself if you decide that the $90 pledge is right for you. It's up to you what you really need for yourself. Both options are good, but I mean, the playmat's not going to be essential. It's not a gameplay thing for sure. It's a personal determination as to whether you prefer that for your table. And that brings us to Freedom 5. And Freedom 5 has a lot going on. I've talked about this already, but Arcane Wonders is pulling out all the stops. And when I say all the stops, I mean all the stops. The amount of stuff they are doing for this game, and the amount of stretch goals and consistent daily reveals, unlocks. They consistently put out an update every single day that completely changes the game, that throws more stuff in your face. They are doing everything they can to possibly tempt you to back it, which also comes at the cost of rising pledge levels. As they continuously add things, that means the cost will go up on some of these pledge levels, which sadly can push people away at the same time. So we're going to break it down, we're going to go through it, because it's tough. It's one of those things where you simultaneously want everything, and that means for some people they'll get everything and great, and for others they're going to feel like they're not going to want to get the game because they're not getting everything. I can't help you with that entirely. I can't. I understand FOMO, I understand wanting to get everything, I understand all or nothing with board games. I do it myself all the time. I often am either getting all or nothing, and so you push that price up too high and sometimes I will walk away. But in the case of Freedom 5, I think we can actually drill it down, and especially because they did put out an update today adding an even new pledge level. So what's going on? What's all the stuff we're talking about over here? So, final week, new expansion, pledge levels, and other fun things. Greetings, citizens of Megalopolis. So, basically, they're adding a whole ton of stuff. New threats have arrived in the form of the Cosmic Threat expansion, a $60 optional add-on with gigantic miniatures. So we have another one of those Omnitrons, or Cosmic Omnitron, they should say, with another 5-inch tall, gigantic painted miniature that's going to look absolutely amazing, or I should say, looks absolutely amazing. Hopefully it will look absolutely amazing as well. We have scenario books, mystery envelopes, more stuff. They have a bunch of spoilery stuff in this post. Feel free to read the update yourself to go through it if you care about the spoilery stuff or whatnot. But Cosmic Omnitron is back, and he is bigger and, well, glowier. I think glowier than ever. And this is going to be that gigantic miniature. These things are incredible. I mean, I'm telling you, that bunker alone had a physical presence on the table, and these things make bunker look tiny. So I'm looking forward to this, I can tell you that much. As far as what do they have here for pledge levels, so they have a bunch of pledge levels. We'll go through it. Tuesday they're going to have an unrevealed mastermind, which they already have done. Wednesday they'll have a villain. Thursday they'll have a villain, and Friday they'll have a hero. So lots of stuff. If you pay attention to the comics, lots of what's the word for it? Lots of conjecture about what's coming. I think I saw someone saying this looks like it will be Young Legacy, so we'll see how that plays out. These do not replace stretch goals. Stretch goals are still being completely powered through on this campaign. So, pledge levels. To begin with, we have the $99 Hero Pledge level. This is going to be the basic pledge level that gives you a lot of stuff, more than enough. It's going to give you all the stretch goals. You get tons of content, including that basic Omnitron, tons of stuff to play with. You will not be, well, you'll be missing out, but you won't be missing out, if that makes sense. Then we have the all-in gameplay for $169. If you want everything gameplay for this game, this is going to give you the Cosmic expansion. It's going to give you the Freedom 5 base game. It's going to give you the community team-up pack. So lots of gameplay stuff, albeit not with the cool painted miniatures. But this is where we're going to start, because the pledge levels are going to increasingly get higher, all the way up to close to $500 for this game. But before we get there, before we start diving down to the pledge levels, understand that if they had just released just what you see on the screen right here for $170, you would probably be fine with it. This is everything gameplay. That's not even, we're not even talking about like cutting anything else off. I mean, there are stuff being cut off, but it's all extras, it's all stuff that makes the game look prettier, and this will already be plenty pretty. So if you're considering walking away because that $350 price tag scares you off, I understand it, I get it, and I'm not even saying not to. Do what you need to do. But also understand that you have a complete game in front of you for $170, and everything else is cosmetic. So, and you would have been fine with it if it was just this, and we both know that. And again, I'm saying this with understanding. I know that even though I'm telling you this, for myself, I want the extras once they show it to me. For $199, we have kind of a semi-cosmetic, semi-gameplay update with the expanded core, all the standees upgraded to miniatures, card sleeves. This is the painted set, and look at how cool this. I mean, I can't wait to see the actual real stuff in terms of whether the actual game stands up to this, but it looks pretty cool as is. And then a whole bunch of stuff you can read this here. Then we have all-in cosmetic plus gameplay for $375. That's going to be a discount from $439 if you bought it all separately. So it's a good discount, but it's also $375 for something that a week and a half ago, well, more than that, something 2.5 weeks ago, you didn't even know that you needed. So that's a lot of money. Do you want to do $375? And I know you're shaking your head both up and down at the same time. $375 is a lot. It's got to be a real lifestyle piece if you're going to spend that much, okay? And we do have another option, though. We have two other options. One's going to get worse before it gets better. But yeah, lots of stuff there. And it comes with a lot of things, don't get me wrong. It comes with a lot of extra things, from extra dice, from the comics, the scenarios, from the token sets, tons and tons of stuff over here. This is where you start going back to that 169 pledge level and thinking about whether you really need painted miniatures or not. Are you actually going to play with this game enough? Do you actually care enough? And honestly, it's kind of hard to go back and forth between those two pictures and say you don't care enough, but we can try. We can work on that. But again, before things get better, let's make them get a little bit worse first. $475 for the all-in cosmetic and gameplay plus mats. That's going to basically be another, well, roughly $100 more for 5 mats, or was it 5 mats? I think it was 5 mats. 5 premium thick stitched edging game topper play mats. And so this one, we'll start with the basic here. So $475, that's scary. Unless you really care about the playmats, unless you have a gigantic table, I recommend just skipping on this one, because this game already has a pretty decent amount of table space needed to play the game. The idea of getting these mats on the table and playing the game with the mats and the table and playing a 4 or 5 player game with these, I just can't see that happening. Maybe I'm wrong. Can't see it happening. If you want them, jump on in, see if you can get them. I'm not against them at all. But if you're looking for the first place to cut to make this game affordable, I recommend start by cutting out this pledge level, drop down to $375. You're just missing out on a bunch of mats, and your table can barely afford those anyway. And if you have a table big enough to be able to actually do that, well, then $475 is probably not the worst anyways. And that's going to be the pledge levels we have over here. But before we go anywhere else, they updated with a new pledge level just recently, which should tell you, by the way, how late I am filming this video. It is 12:47 at night. Video going up tomorrow morning, so I'm glad I actually got pushed off, because, well, otherwise I would have missed this update over here that they just put out. But basically, we have the all-in gameplay painted. Enough people pushed for this one that they added it as an additional option. This is going to be a hybrid between the all-in gameplay at $169, I believe it was, versus the all-in. Let's go back to that page over there. So we had over here 2 pledge levels over here. We had the Sentinel at $199, and we had the all-in gameplay at $169, and then we had the all-in gameplay plus cosmetic for $375. This is giving you a good middle ground. For $269, you get everything painted. Not all the other cosmetic stuff, everything painted, all in gameplay. So again, giving you a lot of decent options here on the table for you to pick from. None of them are great. The great option is, well, $99 and you just get everything you want. Well, that would be ideal, but that's not That's not what's happening here, because that's not how Kickstarter works. Kickstarter gives you a ton of extras, but yes, you have to pay for them. And so for $2.69, you'll be able to get all-in gameplay without having to do all the other cosmetic stuff. This is a great option for those who are looking to not feel like they're missing out when they don't get those painted miniatures, but they also want all the gameplay. This is going to be the option to go for. Still an expensive game, for sure. Absolutely, no question. But those minis sure do look nice. And before we get into any other updates, before we get into anything else, let's talk about the should you back it, should you not. Nothing really has changed here. They are pumping out stretch goal after stretch goal, content after content, upgrade after upgrade. I believe this is a game that will hold its value. I believe this is a game that people will want to get their hands on. This is a game that's going to have the best of both worlds. It's going to be dumping tons of retail content with standees on the market. That means tons of people who will continuously be able to discover this game, want those cool miniatures that they've seen pictures of, play the retail standee version, and want to upgrade, which means if this is not a game for you, I believe you will have no problem. Well, no problem is always a relative term. I believe you'll be able to get your money back on this game. And so we'll see how that plays out, but basically, I believe this is a game that will hold its value. And they already released the first mastermind from the Cosmic whatever expansion, Cosmic something expansion, the Wager Master. And look at this. Again, I am so intrigued to see what these painted miniatures look like when we have production copies, because some of this stuff looks insanely good, too good to be true. I mean, this thing looks... It's a die. Look at that. It looks cool. Anyways, that's going to be the Wager Master. Then we have just tons of stretch goals that they blew through today, because when they announced these updates, they basically got $100,000 of additional funding today, which means stretch goal after stretch goal absolutely blown through. Tons of stuff. They have allies over here. They have Tempest, Haka, and they talked about how they'll still show up they still have the potential to show up in future expansions, even if a hero is an ally. We have the 3D sculpted mobile defense platform, and then tons and tons of stuff over here. As far as some other things that are worth noting, let me see if we are over here. There was an update somewhere over here, which is a few things. Okay, this is a relevant update number 24. Feel free to go look at it, but they cover a few things. To begin with, anyone who is at a $5 pledge or higher, it has access to Kickstarter pricing. So they will have a late pledge down the road. If you want to find this campaign in 2 months, you'll probably be able to back it. But if you want to lock in Kickstarter pricing, you need to be at a $5 pledge or higher. Additionally, the pledge manager will be open for 6 to 8 months. So and they possibly longer, that's how these things work, but they're guaranteeing 6 to 8 months, which means if you find this expensive, which is reasonable, if you are upset about a $400 pledge being dropped on your head with 2 days to go, which is reasonable, well, you don't have to upgrade now. You have 6 to 8 months to figure out whether that's the right fit for you. So keep your regular pledge, whatever it is, your basic gameplay $99 pledge, or drop down to $5, and you have 6 to 8 months to figure out and budget accordingly. Again, not pushing this game, that's up to you, but I'm just telling you how to get the game if that's something you want to do. Additionally, they are committed to leaving the pledge manager open until you have opportunities to see the final manufacturing of the physical printed miniatures. So that's basically they're saying, don't like what you see, you'll be able to drop your pledge. They're basically committing to, hey, we're not trying to sell you on FOMO alone. Sure, FOMO is part of Kickstarter, but we're going to try to show you the physical production painted miniatures before you have to do anything there. So they're basically saying, tons of stuff, lots of expensive stuff, but don't worry, we will give you all the options in the world to try to make this fit into your budget, your timeline, and also seeing what you are getting your hands on before you actually commit to it. So that is basically everything Freedom 5. I mean, everything would be forever. I'd have to go through each individual stretch goal talking about each single one, which I'm not going to do because that would be overwhelming in the amount of stuff I have to talk about because they're just smashing through stretch goals. This is one that will very possibly, I was going to say possibly top 1 million, but that might be pushing it. But it's growing quickly. It'll top 800,000. I don't know exactly where it'll end up. I would not be surprised if it tops 1 million. I mean, there's a lot of people who want in on this stuff, and well, we'll see where it actually ends up. That is basically everything. Lastly, I will cover the video coming tomorrow. If you want tomorrow's video, a little sneak peek, we have Burn Cycle is going to be coming tomorrow. So Thursday's video is going to be Burn Cycle. Thursday? Today's Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday. That's the one. It's late at night, 12:47 a.m. In any case, 12:52 by now. In any case, Burn Cycle will be Thursday's video, and just we'll be talking about it. I have played the game. I'll be talking about my first impressions of the, one floor of the game that I played, as well as, of course, the should you back it, should you not. Spoiler alert, go ahead, you should back it, but with caveats, because you gotta see if it's a game for you, right? Past that, I will leave you with this tease of an update they just posted, which is this as an example of the actual art you can expect to see in the rooms on Burn Cycle. So if you've looked at the art of the game and you said, well, kind of seems not up to Chip Theory's usual standard, you are right. It is not up to Chip Theory's usual standard, because this what you see on the screen is an example of the actual art you can expect to see in the game. So, well, we'll see more about Burn Cycle tomorrow as we have time to dive into that campaign. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Let me know in the comments down below, which of these 5 games are you backing? Not Burn Cycle, we'll save that for another day, but Townsfolk Tussle, Dire Alliance, Nova Aetas Renaissance, Endless Winter, and Freedom 5. Let me know which of those 5 are you backing, which of those are you not sure. I'm currently in on I'm currently in on everything except for Nova Aetas. I'm having second thoughts about Dire Alliance, but I'm keeping my pledge for now, and the rest, I'm in on for now. Until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Don't forget to tune in Sunday for the live stream Q&A, which I like doing. I mean, I aimed for once a month, but I'm having so much fun with them that now I'm doing it like once every 3 weeks, and maybe we'll streamline to even once every other week. I don't know, but ultimately, like everything else I do on this channel, I'm having fun, and I'm going to keep doing it. Until next time, have a good one.